The North Sea, September 1931. A British fishing trawler, the Colinda, is 25 miles off the English coast. Its nets are full. But tonight, they've caught something wrong. Buried in a clump of peat, pulled from 120 feet below the waves, is an object. A harpoon, ancient, lethal, found in a place no human being could possibly have walked. The skipper held in his hand a clue to a mystery 8,000 years old. He had found the first ever tangible piece of a lost world, a land that connects Great Britain to Europe, a prehistoric Eden swallowed by the sea, a world we call Doggerland. What was this sunken kingdom? Who lived there? And what really happened to them? To find out, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the history of. To find Doggerland, we have to go back, way back. Not 8,000 years. Try 20,000 years ago. This is the height of the last ice age. So much of the world's water is locked in glaciers that sea levels are 400 feet lower than they are today. Britain isn't an island, and the North Sea doesn't exist. In its place is a vast, cold, dry plain. This is the first Doggerland. But this was no empty wasteland. This was an Ice Age Serengeti. It was home to giants, herds of mammoths, woolly rhinos, and giant deer, and predators to match, cave lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats. And we were there. Early human species, including Neanderthals, hunted these great beasts. They lived and died on this plain for thousands of years. But this world was not permanent. The planet began to warm. The melt was fast. Glaciers retreated. And all that water had to go somewhere. The old, dry steppe drowned. But in its place, a paradise. By 10,000 BCE, Doggerland had transformed. The cold steppe was gone. In its place, a thriving Mesolithic landscape. Forests of pine and birch sprouted, followed by oak, hazel, and elm. The land was webbed with rivers, lakes, and marshes. This was now the rich heart of Europe. The old giants, the mammoths and woolly rhinos, were gone, replaced by new species, red deer, roe deer, elk, and the enormous, formidable aurochs. And this rich new world was the perfect place for people. This was the true Doggerland, Europe's most prosperous hunting, fowling, and fishing ground. These were the Doggerlanders, Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, and they were not simple. They were sophisticated, adapted, and they thrived. They built some of the oldest structures in Britain. They had domesticated dogs. They managed the landscape, and they had a rich, complex, amazing culture. Archaeologists have found hundreds of their artifacts, tools made of stone, antler, and bone. But some were made from something else entirely. Human bone. We don't know why. Was it a ritual? A way to honor the dead? Or was it just practical? We found human bones with strange cut marks, suggesting complex rituals for their dead. And at Star Carr, just off Doggerland, archaeologists found 21 ritual headdresses. These were made from the skulls of red deer stags. The bones were cut, scraped, and hollowed. They were costumes. They were masks. They were shamanic. This was a world of spirits, of ritual, and of deep connection to the animals they hunted. These people had a rich culture, a stable life, a paradise. But they had an enemy they couldn't fight, and an enemy that never slept. The sea. The ice was still melting. And for 3,000 years, the sea levels rose, not with a bang, but with a creep. This wasn't a single event. It was a multi-generational tragedy. A hunter would return to his favorite spot, only to find it was now a salt marsh. A child would be warned, never build your camp where your grandfather did. What was once a continent became a peninsula. Then it became an island. The Doggerlanders were forced to move. They became the first climate refugees, fleeing to the higher ground, the lands we now call England and the Netherlands. But the sea wasn't finished. Around 8,200 years ago, the slow creep turned to a violent end. Off the coast of Norway, at the edge of the continental shelf, a massive underwater landslide was about to begin. We call it the Storegga Slide. It was one of the largest landslides in known history, and it triggered a mega-tsunami, a wall of water, traveling at 500 miles per hour, raced across the ocean. It devastated coastlines in Norway, Scotland, and the Shetlands, surging miles inland, and then it hit the last refuge of Doggerland. This was the end. The Storegga tsunami was the final blow. It was a 1-2 punch. The slow sea level rise had weakened Doggerland, turning it into a low-lying archipelago. The tsunami finished the job. The survivors, if there were any, fled, but the land itself was gone. Doggerland was lost to the sea. For 8,000 years, Doggerland was just a memory, a story perhaps, passed down in the flood myths of a dozen cultures. But the sea remembers. Throughout the 20th century, fishermen kept pulling up ghosts, mammoth tusks, lion jaws, and tools. The people who hunted them. But now, we don't have to guess. Using seismic data originally collected for oil and gas exploration, scientists at universities like Bradford have done the impossible. They have mapped the lost world. They found its hidden rivers, its lakes, its coastlines. The Schotten River, lost for 10,000 years, flows once more. We can now walk through Doggerland, and using artificial intelligence, they are now hunting for the Goldilocks zones, the exact locations of human settlements. Doggerland is not a myth. It's not Atlantis. It was a real place, a place our ancestors called home. Its story is a gripping tale of human resilience, but it's also a warning, a chilling reminder that our world can change, that the coasts can move, and that the sea always wins. Thanks for exploring this lost world with us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to join us on our next journey into the past.